Hey friends, North here. Thanks for tuning in to another video here where we talk about Boomer. This is kind of like a devlog. I never really did devlogs before. I suppose maybe this is devlog 0. Um, anyway, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching and liking and continuing to comment on my videos. Despite me, I haven't really been too active on YouTube, and part of that is just because I've been building Boomer, and I've been improving on my development skills to try to make a better game for everybody. So I haven't really had a lot of time for video content, but some of my followers have been asking for it, so I thought, yeah, maybe it's about time. Let's put something together. So let's get started, I guess, with devlog 0. All right, so as many of you know, I started the Boomer development in GameMaker Studio 2, and that went really well for a while until I started building out particles and started looking at camera work and managing persistence, building a save file system. Those are kind of advanced topics for someone like me in GameMaker Studio 2, and at the time that I was using GMS 2, those were not simple components to manage. There were varying tutorials, there were different ways to do it, and there just didn't seem to be a way that worked well all together. So I switched over to Unity because a lot of those components and the Unity Asset Store really can help you accelerate development on some of those tasks. So I jumped on Unity, and within a couple of weeks I was able to replicate all the work I had done in GMS 2 that took almost a year. Like, granted, I was still learning a lot of development techniques in GameMaker Studio 2, but nonetheless, it took a long time to get to where I was in GameMaker Studio 2, and having replicated mostly all of it in just a couple weeks in Unity with very little Unity experience and C# experience was it was an obvious choice for me to switch platforms. I replicated a lot of what I had in GMS 2, and I guess I've added some additional things, and we'll talk about that over the next couple of minutes. We're going to launch the Boomer main menu here in Unity. So the main menu, after getting some feedback from some of you, I've added some animations to it. We can see Boomer's now kind of bouncing up and down. He's got his idle animation going, and we have clouds that are also moving slightly, and we have these rays coming in over here on the right, which look really good. And they have the ability to, you could see them kind of shining, and the alpha values are just kind of changing. So very subtle stuff. We'll probably come back and add more things to this, but for the most part, I'm happy with it, with the way that it is right now. And that's kind of how I operate. I kind of work on something for a little bit, and then I switch gears, and then I kind of go back to it, and I go back and forth based on several things. All right, we're going to load now the next scene. This is like the intro scene. This is where Boomer kind of comes into our atmosphere. Now, if you notice, some of you may recognize some of these assets. Now, I designed all the movement in Boomer and coded everything in Boomer. And then after I did that, I discovered the Corgi engine after I did everything, and realized that the Corgi engine really made things a lot tighter, and it really improved the overall look and feel of Boomer. So I ended up buying the Corgi 2D engine, and I have no regrets doing so. The Corgi 2D engine really helped accelerate the development tremendously for Boomer. It just added a lot more features. It is a feature-rich engine, and it just accelerated the entire process. And there's a little bit of stigma about using assets, and I don't think it should be that way. I think if you have an idea, you have a passion to make games, and you want to put music and story and visuals together and build an experience for people, I think you should just do it whichever way you're able to do so in the quickest way possible, so you can release your work and move on to the next thing that inspires you. So although I had designed and built a lot from the ground up. In Unity, just using C#, I was still learning a lot and I was happy with it. But after discovering Corgi 2D and realizing how much more I could add to this game with very little effort, at the end of the day, I just want to put a good product out, and I want everybody to be in this game and experience, because I think it's a really cool. I think it's a really cool experience that I want people to have. So I put the Corgi engine in here, and that's what I'm going to be using for a lot of the stuff here. So we're going to collect this fragment here. And, once I switched over to the Corgi engine, I have to go back and update a couple of things, like these load screens. I'm probably going to update those and change those a little bit. But overall, I'm really happy with the camera movement. I'm happy with how Boomer feels when you're, moving him around. Let's do a little burst there, a little dash. And it's just some subtle changes that I've added, like the ability to look down, right? If you lean him down, he'll look down, or he can look up. We can't look down right now because the camera just can't go down anymore, but he does have that that ability to look up and down, which is something that I had not coded in the previous version, and I think it's a good touch to have, to be able to look up and down. It's just really cool. And his float feels good. I might slow it down a little bit, but I do like his float. I did adjust the float slightly on the input. Before, I had it where you would double jump and then hold space to initiate the float, which initially that made things a lot smoother, where you had less buttons to worry about, but then you also lost control of when you wanted to float. So for instance, if you wanted to float, you would have to do a double jump whether you wanted to or not. You couldn't just float from any height. You would only be able to do it after a double jump. And that reduced the amount of options I had as a level designer, because I would have to take into consideration that floating could only occur from a specific height, which would be a double jump height. So I didn't like that. So I switched back to how it was before, which was you initiate the float from a separate button. That's not the jump button. So now we could float right from here, for instance, right from a slight jump. And I have variable jumping. So you could jump a little bit, you could jump a lot, you can double jump and hold it for a slight delay. We do have, jump buffers and coyote time. So the movement feels kind of forgiving. It feels really responsive. We do have wall sliding or wall cling as well. So you can grab onto walls to help you jump off walls. I mean, at the end of the day, like, Boomer is really meant to be a traversal game, a level traversing game. Let's switch levels here. And I do still have to add a ton more artwork to this. So that's something that I'm working on now. Thankfully, I'm back into the art portion of the game, which is one of my favorite portions to be in, because I just love pixel art and drawing pixel art. And then I'm also working on a dungeon. Let me show you guys that dungeon real quick. Which is still something that I'm refining. I had some suggestions to enable parallax, as you see here, like, put things in front of the camera. What's an interesting design limitation with Boomer, and I added this where you can sort of walk behind things, and that kind of gives you a loose impression that things are kind of in 3D. One of the difficulties in a game like Boomer is that it takes place in the sky, so having things directly in front of the camera, I can't really put a lot of things in front of the camera. You're in the sky, right? So it would have to be clouds, mostly just clouds that are perhaps right in front of the camera, and that's something I'm going to be adding. So let's go into this dungeon. So this is the dungeon level, which is something that was heavily requested. Like, everybody wants to see a dungeon in the sky. So I guess this introduces a slight Metroidvania feel, as we now have this large dungeon to crawl through, and that meant that we needed to collect things. So then I started thinking, well, if you're gonna have a dungeon, like you're gonna have to loot it, right? You're gonna have to collect stuff. So I have to put stuff in here now, and that led me to think that maybe we have to have an inventory system. So I'm gonna leverage Corgi's built-in inventory system slightly to kind of manage inventory, and that's something that I'm sort of working on. You know, being able to collect certain keys and then use those keys to perhaps open doors. And these are just placeholders. Like at some point, I have to replace this with an actual door that works, because right now it's not even working. So we still have a couple things to fix. We still have doors to code. I still have an inventory system to sort of deal with. I have music that I'm going to be updating. I have a lot of music for the game, but I do have to figure out a way to put the music in here in a way that will be useful, so you can actually hear tracks fade in and out. So I have to do that, and I have to fix the load screens. I'm also working on the last level already, which is going to be pretty interesting. I've never done cutscenes or animations for a long extended period of time. That's something I have to work on. It's something I need to understand how to do. So if you have suggestions for me on how to make cutscenes or animations, let me know, because I could totally use some guidance and some assistance there. I have an idea already, of what I want to see in the last level, which I think is going to be really cool. But yeah, maybe it's too ambitious. So yeah, we'll see how the process of animating things can go. As you can see, we do have a good amount of levels. There's about 10 levels that have been completed, and level 10 is going to be sort of your intro level for the dungeon, and that's going to take you to dungeon 1, and then I have a second dungeon that I'm building, and I'm probably going to have a third one, and I'm probably going to have maybe up to 30 levels. I'm hoping to have at least 30 levels and 3 dungeons, and I think that's a lot of content to have in a game like Boomer. But yeah, it's going to be mostly a lot of level design, and a lot of this artwork in this dungeon does have to get updated. I am missing a background. I am missing a lot of artwork for a dungeon. Dungeon's actually very heavy on the artwork, because that's a good opportunity for you to add things in the background, add depth. And we're going to have cool ideas here. If you have any ideas of what you want to see in the dungeon, put it in the comments below, and I'll see if I can implement it. But I definitely want to have an inventory system. I want to be able to collect different keys. I want to be able to have portals that take you from one to the other. I want to have moving platforms and spikes and like swinging things. Like all your typical dungeon stuff's going to be in here. But if you have any ideas on how to make Boomer better, please leave them in the comments. I do read them, and I do implement them. But anyway, thanks again for watching. Thanks for staying subscribed and leaving comments there and keeping me engaged with all of you. That's one of my favorite things is kind of getting feedback and building a community around game development and music. So thanks for being a part of that community. And I hope to release Devlog 1 soon with hopefully more updates and continue showing you some of this progress. If you want to see more of this progress, and if you think devlogs are cool, interesting to watch, let me know, and I'll be happy to share more with all of you. Anyway, thanks again. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you all real soon. Take care.